Oh, hey, hi, it's me, Izzy. It's been a while. I haven't streamed or done any content on, realistically, YouTube in the last year. Unless you count my Beats channel where I inconsistently make beats, although granted, I have been making music. I did release a song called Dream Fighter, if you haven't seen that already. It's already on, YouTube, streaming, Spotify, whatever, Apple, wherever you go. Anyways, it's been a while. I haven't streamed in a while.
Hi, post-Christmas editing Izzy here. Unfortunately, throughout this video, I forgot camera etiquette because unfortunately, I look at myself through my laptop rather than the actual camera. And so unfortunately, you're gonna have me looking like this for a while. If I ever decide to do a video next time, I will make sure to look at the camera. I apologize.
Now, deciding to record RAOISFOTI in the last, what? I don't know. When was the last RAOISFOTI I did? I know it was the one about BreadTube, but I actually don't know. Let me check. I'm actually checking on my laptop, the same device I'm using this to record on. Yeah, the last RAOISFOTI I did was 3 years ago, and that was the debate bro conundrum. Wow, that's crazy. I'm pretty sure I don't agree with mostly everything I said in that video. Let's be real, my mind changes. Every time I record a RAOISFOTI, a lot of the times my mind changes immediately, like, what, 6 months after it? I don't know. It's weird. I don't realize it's been a while so long that I've literally... Hold on. My hair is different now. I have twists. I have long hair now. Anyways, today's RAOISFOTI is about how stupid racist people are. I originally recorded a TikTok about this. I was gonna make this a TikTok, and I was like, I'm gonna redo this video and then re-upload it as a TikTok later on. So, yeah. But yeah, in today's ranting about opinions I see floating on the internet, episode 13, I've been seeing a take floating on the internet for a while now. Not just a while, actually. It's been like 10 years, probably 15, probably ever since I had a Facebook account, realistically. So the quote in question is, "A dog born in a stable is not a horse." The funny thing is, this was said about the Irish, which is really funny, if I recall correctly. And this comment I've been hearing it more often and often, especially within the context of what's going on within the UK right now, with all the whole talk of migration and reform now becoming a now bigger force. Not just reform, Nigel Farage, really, let's be honest. Nigel Farage becoming a more bigger force in the UK as we're now seeing, right? Like, I've noticed this comment that I've often heard repeated by often people who are clearly right-wing, let's be real. And now, what people mean by that quote is they're trying to claim that essentially, if you're not white, you can't claim to be British. Basically, if your family didn't exist in Britain over thousands of years ago, you cannot be considered British. You explicitly cannot be considered British, even if you were born here. The only place you really know is realistically here. You speak English, you have an English accent. You went to English school. You have a job in England. You work in England. You speak English perfectly fine. You pay taxes. You do your due diligence. You contribute to the economy of Britain. You literally, and so there's been this sentiment amongst right-leaning people or racists. Let's be real, they're just racist. Let me not sugarcoat it. These are racist. They're racist. Okay, let's not deny or act stupid. Okay, this comment is said by racists to try to be like for someone like me, I'm gonna use myself for an example, because I'm of Nigerian descent, even though I was born here, grew up here, learning English. I can't speak Yoruba, by the way. Learning English, paying taxes in this country, contributing to the economy of this country, literally, I even partake in a lot of English culture. I still eat, I very much like English food as well. I basically do the same thing a white person my age does, essentially. Sorry, no, I do the same thing a white and British person does, essentially. So it's kind of irrelevant. And I'm not even saying that I'm not even claiming myself as white British, right? I'm just saying that I'm British because at the end of the day, nationality-wise, I am British because whether you like it or not, right? Culturally, I am British. You can't ignore that. I'm sorry, no looking at my skin tone is gonna deny me being British. And the reason why I find this quote particularly stupid is the fact that dogs and horses aren't even the same kind of animal, okay? Me and Nigel Farage are still human beings, okay? There is nothing really different between me and Nigel Farage on a biological level between a dog and a horse. You idiots. You complete morons. Like, oh my god. Like, do I have to explain that to you? Like, it's dumb, and there's no point arguing it, but I don't know why people keep repeating this talking point like they're smart. You're not smart for repeating this talking point. I don't get it. Bruv, do you think me and Nigel Farage are like different animals or something? What's wrong with you? Like, when people say that quote, it exposes yourself as super racist. I'm sorry. You need to understand that we are both human. Me, Nigel Farage, both humans. There's nothing much different to us on a biological level compared to a dog and a horse. Let's be real. And obviously, you know, this is nothing new. There's this effort to dehumanize non-white people, acting as if they are like completely different beings or creatures. Like, there's just no way these people can live with us. These people cannot live with us because they are so different that it's somewhat innate in their biology that we can't live in harmony together at all. If someone said that quote to me in person, I would look at them and just think, do you not see me as human? Like, is that it? You just don't see me as a human being. You're falling victim to bias. That's it. You're just falling victim to your biases and clearly captured media. I'm gonna be honest, the media ecosystem is screwed. It's messed up now. Like, people can't trust the news anymore because they are either A, spreading misinformation, or B, just completely unreliable nowadays. But whatever, that is another run for another time. Let's skip on. I might not even be doing videos again. Another point to make that completely debunks their entire argument, by the way, is the fact that if I went to Nigeria, right now, and I spoke with Nigerians would not see me as another Nigerian. They would see me as, you know, one of their own, in the sense that, oh, well, I have family there, or, you know, my parents are from there, or, you know, my grandma, Nigerian, you know, has lived there her whole life. You know, they would see me Nigerian to an extent. However, they would call me British. Let's be real. They would never refer to me as Nigerian. They would probably see me as British. They are not going to look at me and be like, oh, you're Nigerian. No, they will look at me as British. They hear my voice. They hear the food I'm into. They hear my musical tastes. I've been to Nigeria when I was a child, and literally, I've had so many comments about my accent when I'm back home. Speak to anyone who's a second-generation immigrant, right? Or more, right? They will tell you that when they go back to their mother countries, right? They will tell you that because they were born in Britain, people still see them as British. They still see them as British. People in their home country will see them as British rather than the mother country they're from. You know, they're not gonna see them as that. I'm very doubtful that if you speak to like a 4th generation Indian immigrant from Britain, and if they go to India, I'm very doubtful that any of their Indian family members would see them as Indian. They would probably say, "You're British." Sorry, that's just the way it is. That is just the way it is. Because at the end of the day, it is nationality is really what matters at the end of the day. If I went to the United States and I talked to other black people in the United States, they're gonna see me as British before they ever see me as Nigerian. Let's be real. They know I'm black, but they're not gonna think, oh, Nigeria. No, they're obviously gonna think, oh yeah, you're from the UK based on your accent. I imagine if I was in the middle of Ukraine and people were hearing me speak, I imagine the first thing that goes through is that I'm British before they ever think I'm Nigerian. They don't know where the fuck I'm from. They just see a black person. I imagine they see a black person. They're not gonna assume where the hell I'm from. My British is probably the most important and most notable social factor about me. Like, realistically, because obviously it's in my voice, it's in the way I speak, the way I dress, it's in the way I present myself. It's obvious that I'm British just by hearing me speak. Like, clearly, you know, if I was talking to another foreign person, I would probably tell them that I'm British before I tell them that I'm Nigerian, unless they're really interested in that. That's not to say I'm like embarrassed about being Nigerian. I'll get off the Nigeria thing afterwards, like, oh yeah, I'm British, but also, you know, I'm Nigerian as well. I'm British, or I'm a Nigerian Brit, or I'd say I'm British, but my parents are from Nigeria. Or sometimes, you know, if it's me, someone asks where I'm from, I go, are you asking where I'm from, or are you asking where I'm from? Like, if I'm talking with British people in general, I will tell them, yeah, I'm British. Or if I'm talking to, or sometimes I might say I'm from London. Or if I'm talking to other Londoners, I might tell them where I'm from in London. I just find this argument pretty stupid, because at the end of the day, it's like, mate, you're not different to me. You still piss, eat shit, and die, okay? We're all gonna do that someday. You need to learn that. Okay? And realistically, this idea of who's proper British is a bit silly because we can make it very arbitrary very quickly just because of, you know, the way British history is. The Romans invaded, the Vikings invaded, like, well then who's really British then? And also, Britain was spread into like very separate tribes. Like we got the Celts, the Normans, the Anglo-Saxons, like to me, I find that so confusing because it's like, okay, so who are we classifying as really British? Is it just everyone who's white now? Because okay, what if someone whose family is Ukrainian and maybe 200 years later their family's still been living there for 200 years, right? And they have no ties to Ukraine. Are you now considering them? Are they considered British now? No? Yay? Are they? Who knows? Or let's say, okay, what if black people were here for like 500, 600 years? Are we considered British? Does it take 1,000? Or you for some reason, or you were doing blood and soil rhetoric where you think like, yeah, this is my land because my DNA, which is a bit silly. It's silly and it's racist. You're racist. I don't know what to say.
Editor Izzy again. Just to clarify, the quote is essentially saying that just because you're born in Britain does not make you British. The far right know when I call myself British, I'm not claiming it as my racial identity, even though British is not a race, but I do claim it as my national identity and part of my ethnic identity. But the far right want racial identity and ethnic identity to be national identity. They're not stupid. They know the difference between race, ethnicity, and nationality. They don't want anyone who isn't racially white, and they don't want anyone whose ethnicity isn't white British to be considered as part of the national identity of Britain. They want them gone. So it's not stupidity. These people want to be cruel, even if it doesn't make their lives any better. And trust me, their lives will not get better under reform.
When someone wrote that on Twitter, I remember saying that like I made the same point, and then the next thing they start posting is some like they didn't stop posting a study and then tried to make a comparison between Bengal and Siberian tigers, which I was like, oh, that's funny. You really thought that was a gotcha moment. You're an idiot. Siberian tigers and Bengal tigers are like a different subspecies. Black and white people aren't a different subspecies. They're still human, you idiot. You complete moron. And they tried to post a study, like the difference in variation between different like body part, between different like hormones or slightly different like body parts or some stupid shit like that. And I read the study, and nowhere in that study does it suggest the thing they're trying to imply, that as if black and white people are literally not the same as human beings. And that's how you know. One thing I've realized also about Twitter is if you argue on Twitter, because Elon Musk owns the site now, like one thing I've noticed, if you argue on Twitter with any racists, you can tell they're a bot because immediately they start especially if they start posting like race statistics. Oh, also, and here's another thing that proves Twitter is completely ran by bots now, and it just proves dead internet theory is, and I posted this onto Twitter. It's just the fact that the way people are reacting about Somalians making obviously clearly satirical jokes about the idea that the state of Minnesota in America was promised to them. Somalians are clearly making a joke that a lot of that Zionists make about Israel, which is surprisingly my name. Not surprisingly, in case you can tell my sarcasm. It's really silly that there are people who are taking it so seriously. I'm sorry, but if you can't detect the satire, that means you failed the human pass. I'm sorry, you failed the pass of being a human. I don't believe you're a human if you genuinely cannot detect the satire. You are so racist that you've literally failed in being a human socially. You might be a human biologically, genetically, whatever, but you have failed being a human socially. So to me, it's either those people are clearly bots, or that you have failed to pass being a human. You have socially failed as a human being. You're not a human being. You can be whatever you want to be, whatever, I don't care. That's all I have to say for today's video. At the end of the day, I just need to conclude. Remember, race is not a real thing. It is an entirely made up metric that we made up as human beings so that we could justify slavery. That's it. We just made it as a reason to justify slavery. That was it. That's why all the stereotypes, all the misconceptions about black people or other races that you believe are normally used to justify slavery. They will all just use to realistically just justify slavery and justify why black people just don't deserve any rights. Okay, let's just be real. remember, if you ever hear anyone say a dog born in a stable is not a horse, just understand you're dealing with a racist. Report them. I'm sorry. You deserve to. You deserve social repercussions. We need to bring back social shaming again, because that is how human beings throughout history have maintained order. Goodbye.
Dream fighter.